So I'm Meredith Newman,
Yep.
and my business is called Scaling Within.
Yep.
And what that is it's kind of a place for founders, CEOs, to be able to work through their issues. So my background is as a licensed therapist, and I was in that field for about 10 years before I closed down my private practice and shifted gears to bring it into the marketplace. And kind of my interest behind that was seeing that whether it's the head of a family or a business, any kind of system like that, the issues at the top always flow down. So if you can have healthy, whole people at the top, then that flows into healthy cultures that impacts culture beyond that. And so my interest has really been in kind of the pioneer, visionary founders that have a big heart to bring change in some sort of area, but need a space where they can work through and process through issues. So Scaling Within is also about expanding your internal capacity to sustain growth.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Love it. And if anybody listening has not heard Meredith speak live, I highly recommend it. I took a ton of value out of the it was a mini Eno or mini bar thing at Best Buy. It was great. It was great. So thank you for your time in that. And I see that you speak a lot in front of groups. So it's awesome. I want to dive into some of the nitty gritty of this, but let's start, since this is the founder's mentality and you are a founder, let's start a little bit back with really where this came from. So you kind of gave a very high level of this, but you said you shut down your practice. What was your practice before you started Scaling Within? Who were you counseling or speaking with at that point? Not specific names, obviously, but the type of individuals that you were speaking with at that point.
Sure. Yeah. So my specialty was in complex trauma and PTSD.
Okay.
So it was a therapy practice and people coming out of all sorts of abuse and manipulation. So that could be relationships with narcissists, con artists, people coming out of even spiritual abuse and manipulation, cult stuff at points, but just a range of trauma.
Okay. Wow. And that somehow translated into working with founders and CEOs? How?
Well, I think if you are a founder, you definitely experience a lot of trauma.
Okay. Yeah, I'm saying it facetiously. Yeah.
No.
Yes,
You tell me.
Yeah. No. We're not going to do a therapy session live. That would be absolutely horrible, right? We don't need to do that today. But I mean, I can see the parallels, right?
Yeah.
But so when did you draw these parallels? Where did you start seeing this trend and make the decision that that's more who you wanted to help and who you wanted to speak with?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it actually unfolded over time. I had an internal sense before it really clicked for me. And I'll say this, basically when I first went to grad school, I knew that I wanted to help people. Like I had a heart to help people remove barriers that get in their way so they could fully be what's inside of them to be.
Yeah.
But you can have that heart to help people but have no idea what to do. Like what do you do if someone has anxiety or is suicidal or these different things? So I knew that I wanted to get the skill and training.
Okay.
And it's a massively long, intensive process to get licensed as a therapist.
Yeah.
So within that, I knew that, but I always had this internal sense that it would be a foundation for something else. And I didn't know what that meant, but it was kind of this intuitive sense that what I would end up doing, there wasn't a precedent for. Okay. Kind of how I see the difference between what I'm doing now, even though I love that work, it was often me putting in a lot and helping people go a little bit of way.
Okay.
And what's different about this is working with a lot of people who are these high-performing achievers, and you give them just a little bit, and they take it very far. And then everyone that they impact, it kind of cascades down. So in a sense, it was a way to scale my efforts, to take something that I could do 6 months of therapeutic with one person and kind of work one-on-one with a leader where then the impact of that is very far-reaching.
I love that answer. I was thinking about this and you know, I guess there's a couple of things that are really interesting to me.
Yeah.
With founders, we're used to having advisors. We're used to having maybe investors that give us our list of to-dos, right?
Yep.
It's no different than a honey-do list at home, right? But these are the list of things that you need to accomplish. And I think as founders, we just know that we're supposed to turn around and make those things happen, right?
Yeah.
I think the thing that's really cool, though, about that is if you're working with an individual that is maybe working through some challenges in their personal life.
Yeah.
Many times when you're working with them, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess the assumption I would make is that the sphere of influence that has is much smaller than if you're working with a founder. And that's a generality, a general statement maybe I shouldn't even make, but if I were to take advice that you give me that I can immediately apply to my business, that's going to immediately affect my entire business, all the employees that I have, all the investors that are in this business, and it's going to spill over into my personal life because it's going to help my family, it's going to help my friends' relationships. It's a huge change agent in this space. And I'm sure individuals still they have their group of friends, they have their family, they have a lot of people pulling for them too. So it's not that it's just the individual that you're helping in that case, but it's pretty amazing the change that you can affect with all these conversations, right?
Exactly.
And I love the immediacy.
Yes. And so this is kind of my personal language for this, but I kind of think of part of what's in my DNA to do is bring counsel to kings. Yeah. And so like modern day people of influence and whatever they do has massive impact. So the other thing is when you are a king in an industry or you're pioneering something new, whether it's well-founded, you're at the beginning of stages, what I hear the most is how lonely it is at the top. Mm-hmm. That's a common kind of understanding for founders. Yeah. Because the thing is, I picture part of even the language of scaling within, it's also kind of like scaling a mountain of influence. Yeah. So the further up you go, the thinner the airspace is and the less people make that trek. Yeah. But also the influence at the top of that peak spreads far beyond yourself. Right. And so a lot of times some of the pain that you're going through or when you're the tip of the spear going through you just have to break through in these areas. It's extremely painful, but the impact is massive. And so a lot of times what I work with people on is some of the things that you're overcoming, it's not just what you're personally overcoming, it's for those that are coming behind you in the area that you're spearheading.
Right. Love that. Love that.